All right, guys. Well, Happy New Year. I think no, this is the second video of the New Year, so don't worry about that. Anyways, recently a friend of mine had gotten contacted by somebody on Meat Fighters who was visiting from out of town, and this person wanted to wrestle with methamphetamine involved. And it's kind of a subject that I didn't think that I would need to address on this channel. And I don't ever want to really, yuck somebody's yum or like tell people, don't do something. But this is really something that's more concerning to me because it's unsafe for everybody involved. And I want to go into that for some pretty big reasons there. So, when you are on a drug, depending on what the drug is, and I'm not somebody that's never done a drug before in my life. I have used edibles for insomnia for years, off and on. And I have also, because I have extreme depression, I have used psilocybin in macro doses, bordering on heroic doses to try to work through some of my shit. And so it's not like, I've never done anything in my life, and I'd be a hypocrite to say if I were. And I also consume alcohol, so it's not like. But I've never done any of those things in conjunction with wrestling. I have wrestled with people that have, and every time I did, it was a mistake. So when I was much younger, there was this guy that I was very attracted to, and he had alcohol and marijuana. And we wrestled a little bit when we got back to his place. And I went for an armbar, and he didn't respond to it. We didn't know that we were at the brink of where the arm is going to break because hadn't started BJJ yet. I was doing a BG East style armbar, and so it was definitely wrong. And then suddenly the elbow went pop, and I was freaked out. He was freaked out, and then I carried the weight of the guilt of that for probably I still do to a certain extent. And I personally don't hold anything against the people that have hurt me wrestling. Certainly not my coach who broke my nose, on the mats, and the times that and the time that he actually broke this bad knee, and he might actually be partially responsible for my torn meniscus, and but also my choices were in there. But the thing is that regardless, I'm sure that he probably actually holds some bad feelings in himself because he injured me. So it's not always when injuries happen, it's not always, oh, I forgive you and you're going to be fine. People hold the weight of that kind of thing for a long time. And I think that's a normal human response. And when you involve drugs into wrestling, the chances of those injuries goes up. And especially when we're talking about this person that is pumping this video, I think he's 56, 58, and doing methamphetamine, and then combining that with wrestling. So you've got an older person, right, who's not taking care of his body, doesn't care that he's putting methamphetamine in there. Then the drug of choice happens to be meth. And just with him being older and having that lifestyle, the chances of him having a cardiac emergency, such as a stroke or a heart attack in that situation, is actually very, very high. And had my friend said yes to that, and that person, has a heart attack, has a stroke, my friend can be potentially considered liable for that injury, especially since he was aware that the methamphetamine had been involved, and especially with an older man. So you would think that there would be these checks and balances in your brain that says, no, this is a bad idea. And I hope that nobody has taken this particular person up on that. That person has reached out to me many times over the years, but the conversation never got to the point where he had mentioned his drug use. And so, think about, there is that physiological danger, and certain drugs will present more of a physiological danger than others, right? So cocaine or methamphetamine or any type of upper like that is probably going to increase the risk of a cardiac event. But the other thing that's going to happen is that people, when they are on something like meth, they're not going to be as perceptive to pain. And actually, same thing's going to be with alcohol, marijuana, definitely shrooms. Their nervous system is going to be suppressed. And so they're not going to know that they're close to injury, so they're not going to tap. They're not going to respond well to that. The other thing is that they're not going to be as coordinated. So when you're wrestling, you're going to have elbows flying, you're going to lose teeth, you're going to get black eye, you're going to break a nose, you aren't going to be as controlled when you go for that Americana, and or even a body scissor. You can go too far too fast, or you can have it awkwardly placed and not register that the placement is awkward, and there goes rib. So really, I don't believe that wrestling and any kind of drug really mix. And I don't care what Eddie Bravo says, and the fact that, I think he smokes pot in between rolls. You know, it's not something that mixes, because that level of control will be dampened. And you guys are going to increase the risk of injury. You increase the risk of possible death. And how that comes about it's just really not worth the risk. So I want you guys to be sure that you're talking to people, and if you suspect that somebody is high when you're starting a roll, talk to them about it. If you're still not comfortable, don't roll with them. You have the right to say no to roll with people. And yeah, you might get that flag on Meat Fighters that says, "Oh, you were rude" or whatever. It's worth the risk, right? Because nothing is worth getting that injury. Nothing's worth getting in trouble with the law, or having that guilt on your conscience for when you injure somebody. So take drugs seriously when it comes to wrestling. I don't care what you do in your downtown. Maybe I do care a little bit, but I'm not going to yuck your yum. I actually personally believe in legalizing all drugs and then opening up centers where you can legally do them, so that you'll be monitored by qualified professionals, and that help is available for you when you're ready for it. I think that's a good solution to the drug epidemic. Also, you wouldn't be having questionable people supplying the drugs. You would actually have government regulations over how the drugs are produced and how they can be administered, so that that it's safe, that people are not reusing needles, so we slow the spread of HIV and things like that as well. So, I'm not going to tell you, I would prefer if you stopped using drugs, but, it's your life, these are your choices, but it's also your choice not to roll with somebody when they're high. And please understand that it's not fair to others to hide that you're high when you're rolling. It's not fair to others to, get high and then roll and then put them at risk for doing that. So that's what I have to say on the subject, guys. Thank you for listening. And I hope you guys take this seriously. All right, on to the next one.